Today's program could be the answer to prayer of every single woman, wife, or mother who's behind in everything on her to-do list and embarrassingly disorganized. Or no one knows that you don't have it all together and you have no idea which household project to tackle first. You are overwhelmed. Our guest today on Excellent Living offers the answers to your dilemma. Certified family life educator and speaker Nancy Van Pelt. She's the author of more than 40 books, including Get Organized, 7 Secrets to Sanity for Stressed Women. And that's our topic for today. You can do it. Get organized. Cheryl Martin was thrilled to interview Nancy on this always relevant topic. Let's listen.
Nancy, first of all, I am so excited about talking with you about this topic. I really believe that one of your books is one of the best books out here on how to get organized. So thank you so much.
Well, I appreciate those words. I think it can make a real difference in the lives of people who read and start practicing it.
We live in a culture, Nancy, where so many people would say they are just stressed out to the max. It can be especially demanding for them. They work 40, 50 hours on a job. They may come back home. They're married. Some may have children. They have to help them with the homework, get their meals prepared, try to get their homes clean, and they're saying, I just don't have enough hours in the day to do what I need to be effective, to be organized. What is your response to that, since we're not going to get any more hours in a day?
Well, that's true. We can't stretch our time, and yet we can make better use of the time that we do have. And it's interesting that you mentioned, the number of hours and parenting and working outside the home, working inside the home, and cleaning the house. But actually there is so much more to staying organized than just getting the house clean or picked up. In my book, Get Organized, there are actually 7 secrets to sanity, all of which need to be employed in order for somebody to reap the full benefits. Now, you can reap part of the benefits by practicing only 1 or 2 of the principles, but once you put all of them into practice, that's when the real serenity in your life begins, and you can say goodbye to chaos.
Well, I want to get into those principles, but my first question is, if a person has been struggling with being organized for years, is there hope for that person?
Yes. Now, getting organized is easier for certain personality types than it is for other personality types, but that does not mean that a sanguine person who would rather talk than organize anything can't get organized and do some things to lessen the stress in their life.
So let's go with the first step. What's the first step in getting more organized, or getting organized, period?
Well, the first step, I say, is designing a personal daily plan, and most people just cannot or will not take the time to do this. But in my book, I actually have a graph which helps them mark out what they do during a week. Once you begin to see day by day where your commitments are, then you can see where little blocks of time are. And I believe that every woman, especially women, need little blocks of time for themselves. And they need to capture those moments and hang on to them while they are getting their families ready for school and picking them up. And it is so stressful to try to keep all of this going. It's more stressful for women than it is for men, because men see their main job as going to work every day and coming home. Many men come home from work, put their feet up, and snap the television on, and they feel that they've done it for the day. Well, the woman has been out working all day too, but when she comes home, she simply enters another job arena where she has to perhaps pick up groceries on the way home, get dinner on the table, take care of the kids, supervise their homework, all of this, get kids to meetings, all of this while he sits there and watches television.
That's just overwhelming listening to you list off.
Right. Well, this is the real world of women today.
So let's talk about this personal daily plan because you're also talking about some simple plans for routine and organization.
Yes. And they simply would look at Monday and what are my commitments for Monday, and they would sketch it in with a time frame, and they would do the same for Tuesday. Now, another absolutely great thing that I teach women to do, you see, the principles that I teach, all 7 of them are kind of interlaced with one another. But rather than trying to do all your cleaning on one day, on Sunday, or on Thursday night, or whatever your plan is, rather than doing it that way, you map out your cleaning tasks throughout the week. So for me, Monday is my day in the kitchens. That's when I'm going to wipe down the decks and do something with the floor and maybe organize one drawer and do one window in the kitchen, that kind of thing. Now, my kitchen is not cluttered. Now, you can't do anything when you have clutter all over your kitchen counter. So see, now we get into another principle, but let's leave that alone. So Monday is my day for kitchen. Tuesday is my day to do several loads of wash. Wednesday is my bathroom day. Do you see what I'm doing? I'm taking the major tasks that women have in their lives, and I'm handling one per day.
Now, Nancy, how would this work for a woman who simply wants to be more organized as it relates to her job outside of the home? Let's say she's a busy executive, or even a man who's a busy executive. Right. How would this PDP work?
All right. It would work the same way that they map out their day at work. See, some people say, well, I'm organized at work, but I can't put it into play at home. Well, look at your work schedule. You know what you're doing throughout the day. If you're working someplace, if you have a desk job, you might have appointments, you have a lunch hour, you have breaks at certain times. You map it out so that you can see where your time is going throughout the day. That's simply what a personal daily plan is. And you map out what you're going to do after work, supper, what day are you going to do your shopping. I recommend that women do their shopping, or men, do their shopping on Wednesday or Thursday. Why? Because that's the day the sales come out. If you wait till Friday, stores may be sold out of whatever you need, and more people shop on Friday, so the stores are more crowded. So, and I also recommend that you get your meals mapped out a week in advance. You know, it's horrible to come. I'm getting into another one of the principles, menu planning made easy. And that's when I tell women to make out a menu plan for the entire week. And then you know what you're going to have, so you buy those ingredients. When you have the ingredients on hand, it is not hard to do the cooking. But when you come home from work and you get home at 5:30 and the kids are screaming, the television is blasting, the phone is ringing, the dog is barking, I mean, then you're trying to figure out what you're going to have for supper that night. Well, what do? You pile everybody in the car and you drive to the pizza factory. Well, there's nothing wrong with eating out. Eating out costs more, but it can be a joy. It can be a treat for mom if she's the one that's fixing the meals. Although I'm talking to more and more men these days who are fixing meals. But it shouldn't be done. Eating out should not be done just because somebody's not planning anything at home. When you eat out, you eat more refined foods, more junk food, more empty calories, that kind of thing.
It seems like you're also advocating, when you mention menu planning or even planning what you're going to do each day, do you recommend that a person has a designated time, one day of week, to sit here and do all of this planning, and that day does not change, or you try not to change it?
Well, personal daily plans, it's a personal plan. So I give some suggestions. I give broad principles on how a plan might work. But that plan is adaptable. Maybe you work a night shift or, you're traveling, whatever. But it's adaptable. It's a personal plan. So you take the principles and you adapt it to your life. When can you do what?
Now, have you always been organized, Nancy?
Yes, I've always been an organized person, and people do not understand how I travel and teach seminars and do all that I get done. The only way I can do it is because I'm an organized person. I was out teaching last weekend, and I have to come home and unpack, and I'm going this next Friday. I leave for Tampa, and so all of these things, my briefcase is already packed with all the seminars. I'm teaching 8 different seminars over the weekend. Every one of those notes have been packed. They're in my briefcase. Even my camera is in my briefcase already. I have not packed books that have to go with me. So I work well in advance, so I'm not caught up. That way, if anything happens in the last minute, I am still ready to meet that plane. Planes are something that don't wait on you to get organized.
Now, are you ready for the next trip because you had a personal daily plan, and in it, it said, pack this particular day, this particular hour?
No, actually, this hour of this day, and I have my personal daily plan right before me. Monday happens to be extremely packed with various appointments because the minute I get off the phone from this interview, I have to go to a baby shower.
Okay.
So, and I have counseling that I have to do later on today, and I have a meeting to go to tonight. So this day is very packed. So I have started laying some things out that need to go in my book suitcase. But tomorrow will be my packing day, but that is still 3 days in advance of that trip.
And that's on your list?
That's on my list.
Okay. Now, do you find that when you're doing something on a regular basis, for example, like traveling, you're able to pull out that same list from before because you've developed a pattern?
Yes, especially when I go to third world or extremely hot and humid climates. I have certain things that I take that I wouldn't take other times. So I do have a list in a drawer, which helps me immensely because trips are different. I need different clothes for different climates and so forth.
Now, how long does it take a person to develop a good habit if someone has been disorganized or they want to be more organized?
Well, our experts say it takes 21 to 45 days to form a new habit. So if you are used to putting on your right sock first before your left sock, you would have to put the left sock on first for 21 to 45 days in order for that to be a habit. But I believe that anybody who can get their house decluttered and begins to practice this in 21 to 45 days can become a more organized person. And what I tell my seminars participants is, the next 21 to 45 days is going to go by anyway. So why not take those 21 to 45 days and practice better habits and be a better person in those 6 weeks?
You are listening to Excellent Living with Cheryl Martin, a weekly broadcast encouraging you to do life God's way, because His way is perfect. You can find out more about this program when you visit excellentliving.org. That's excellentliving.org. Cheryl's guest today is speaker and best-selling author Nancy Van Pelt. She's written more than 40 books, including one that's our topic for today, Get Organized, 7 Secrets to Sanity for Stressed Women. Next, Nancy talks about tackling all that clutter.
We tend to be hoarders, and as a matter of fact, it was a prayer request of one woman to pray for her sister because she has the habit of just hoarding everything. So where does one start to declutter?
All right, this is where my seminars differ from anybody else where you're going. A lot of people talk about disorganization and getting better organized, and they'll give you a hint for this and a hint for that, and they motivate you to go home and do something about it, but you get home, you don't know where to start. But I actually have principles, and steps. I actually have a series of 12 steps that I teach. And the first thing that you do is stand outside your door. It doesn't matter whether you live in a house, an apartment, a condo, a mobile home. It doesn't matter. You go outside your main door and you face your door. Now, you begin with the first room on your left, unless it's the kitchen. Why do you not begin in kitchens? Because kitchens are major declutter areas. And if you begin in the kitchen,
you'll be overwhelmed.
You'll be overwhelmed, and 6 weeks from now, I'll find you still in the kitchen, muttering in a foreign language that nobody has ever deciphered yet, and you'll get discouraged and quit. So you begin in that first room on the left, and you begin to work clockwise around the house. You do the same with the garage, standing outside the garage door, and you begin with the first thing on your left. You go, if you're in a 2-story house, you go up the stairs, you begin with the first room on the left. But you don't go on to another room until the one room that you're in has been completely decluttered. Now, where do you begin when you get in that room? You clear all the surfaces. And the first room on my left would be my dining room. Well, I'm not a clutter person, so you're not going to find piles of things. But dining room tables in many homes can just be stacked with papers and books and magazines and boxes. I've seen it. And I have helped some people declutter their homes. And it's pathetic to see the way people live. Now, you mentioned this, the word hoarder, and of course we even have a TV show now on hoarders. But you've got to realize that these people who live this way have major mental problems. By the time they end up on a TV show, they've got some major issues, and they need psychological help in order to solve those issues. Most of us do not have those kind of deep issues. All we need is a plan. This can be done.
And when you talk about starting with the first room on your left, should we then say, I will devote 1 hour a week to this? You don't try to do it all at one time, correct?
No. Well, you know, if someone works outside of the home full-time and they've got a weekend day that they're going to devote to that room, in my estimation, it's all right to spend, several hours working on decluttering the room. If the room isn't that bad, in a few hours you should be able to declutter a room. But I'm talking, in your declutterization, I'm talking about clearing the surface areas first, so everything that is in sight gets out. And by the way, you have to decide what you're going to do with it. Are you going to put it away? That will go in one bag or one box. Are you going to throw it away? That's going to go in another one. Are you going to sell it? Or what are you going to do with this? You have to make that decision, and you carry these 4 bags, 4 boxes with you, and they are labeled. So by the time you are finished with that, you have a whole box of stuff to put away. Then the stuff that you are putting in a sale, for example, you better hide that from the rest of your family, because when the rest of the family comes by that box, they're going to say, hey, what are you doing with that? I want that. And, of course, you're not going to just willy-nilly take children's toys and so forth away. If you're doing a child's room, you can actually bring the child into play on this and saying, you have so much here. I'm going to allow only as much as fits on this one shelf. By the way, let me just say to you and those who have small children, toy boxes are not a good method of organization for children because they teach kids to toss and throw and dump. So I believe that you need to have more shelving, that kind of thing for children. And I believe in the mini baskets. They make them from small to large. You can see through them, those plastic baskets. They are not expensive. And you can stack books in those things, and crayons and Matchbox cars, and all their toys can be in these things, and they need to have different categories for different things. But when a child has too much, it's time to bring him in and help him sort we're going to give this away to another family. Or actually sort through the toys, put half of them away in boxes someplace. Let them play with half of their toys now for 3 months, and then put those toys away and bring the others that you have stored in, and they will be like new toys to the child.
I'm glad you brought up the children, because I'm thinking of that woman who's working outside the home. Let's say she's married and she has children. Part of her frustration could be the scenario that you mentioned, that her husband comes home and he's watching television, or he feels as if, I've already put in my time, this is a wife's responsibility. How does this woman skillfully and graciously get her family members on board with her husband as well as her children?
I'm so glad you asked that, because in the book there's this wonderful chapter called Tactics for Getting Husbands and Children to Help, or family members to help. And I give all kinds of, I think it's 7 or 8 different ways of involving the family, and the family needs to be involved. I don't believe that one person in the family has to serve as a servant to everybody else, waiting on them, picking things up. Children need to be involved in preparing the supper and cleaning up afterwards. I have a real burden. One of the books that I have written is called Train Up a Child, and one of the things that we need to teach children today is work ethics. There are hardly any tasks left to teach children. We can't give them any work anymore because everything is so mechanized. So, but they can be involved in supper preparation, and this is both boys and girls, and clean up afterwards, and taking out the trash, and loading the dishwasher as soon as they're able. Even by the time a child is 3 or 4, they can learn to help with the food preparation. And what it does is give mother and child, or father and child, a chance to visit a little bit while their hands are busy. You make the salad while I'm putting the chili together, and teach a child how to do things correctly, and praise them.
And how to put things up.
Yes, yes.
What?
And can I just say
Sure.
one other thing? I have such a burden for families eating together. And there are studies on this that show the benefits to families eating together, and studies show that the average family, there are 21 possible meals in any given week. And yet a study in Detroit showed the average family is only eating together 2 or 3 times. And when they do, very often the television is blasting in the background, and cell phones are going off, and somebody's running to the computer to check this or that. No, I'm talking about turning all this electronic stuff off for 20 to 30 minutes and visiting together, teaching the children what it's like to be family, teaching the children the art of conversation. This is one of the last frontiers for family today.
I'm really glad you shared that. There are still some who would say they lack motivation. They are so overwhelmed by their lack of organization that it's hard for them to gain. You know how you look at a room and you say, oh, wow, this is just, I've heard people say, I just closed the door.
Yes.
So how does that person gain motivation to do what needs to be done?
All right, let's look at something now. What are our homes supposed to be? Aren't they to be a sanctuary for us? Aren't they to be a place that offers us rest and peace from the world? And if we can't find it in our homes, where are we going to find it?
Mm-hmm.
So this is what our homes are supposed to be. And a home cannot offer us that when it is cluttered or there is a room where you just have to shut the door. I believe that our homes should smile at us. When you come home from a hard day at work and you're driving in your driveway, that home should already be smiling at you. How can it smile at you? It can smile at you because you have a wreath or something pretty on the door. It can smile on you when you enter a room because the colors on the wall are happy or sunny. It can smile at you just because you've added a new and pretty pillow to a sofa. A room cannot smile at you if you have not done anything in the morning. You were behind schedule, so you walk into your bedroom to change out of your good work clothes, and the bed is unmade, and the towels are on the bathroom floor. You see the children have done the same thing. You have to go in to fix supper now. The milk is on the table. That you have Cheerios stuck to the edge of the bowl. I mean, it is chaos everywhere you look. You know what? You asked for that. This did not happen by accident. It happened because you did not take control of that day from the get-go.
Unfortunately, we have to stop there for today on this edition of Excellent Living. That was family life educator Nancy Van Pelt talking to our host Cheryl Martin about getting organized, and that includes decluttering your house. Nancy has written more than 40 books, including Train Up a Child, Highly Effective Marriage, and Get Organized, 7 Secrets to Sanity for Stressed Women. We will continue Cheryl's conversation with Nancy on next week's broadcast. You can learn more about this program and Nancy Van Pelt, plus order a CD of this conversation when you visit excellentliving.org. That's excellentliving.org. If you're enjoying this broadcast, why not invite others to listen and make a commitment to become one of our partners? That means you agree to send a contribution whenever you can on a monthly basis. You can donate online on our website or mail your contribution to Excellent Living, Post Office Box 15285, Chevy Chase, Maryland 20825. That's P.O. Box 15285, Chevy Chase, Maryland 20825. Thanks so much. I'm Doris McMillan, reminding you that here on Excellent Living, next time, more timely principles for getting organized with Nancy Van